FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
And I think the Constitutional Convention has lots of merit to it. But the devil is in the detail. Who's going to sit on the Constitutional Convention? What is going to be up for grabs? It turns out that California has the second longest constitution in America, only behind Alabama. So the question is, what's going to be up for grabs? Who's going to sit on it? And what it can't be, in my view, is an excuse to simply eliminate the 2/3 majority that is required to pass tax increases and to pass a budget. So I am in favor of this, but the devil is in the detail. But I'm also a realist. The next governor of California is not likely to have a new constitution. So we're going to have to turn this state around with the hand that we have been dealt. And I think there's a couple things to understand. The governor of California has 4 levers. You always hear about the dysfunctional state legislature, but frankly, there's many other levers that you have, and I'll talk about them. First is the appointments process. Turns out the governor of California gets about 3,000 appointments. And this is important. Remember where we started this conversation? You are only as good as the people who work for you. So those 3,000 people who are and I would focus on the top 300. Your agency heads, your department heads, the gubernatorial appointments to the 395 boards and commissions in California have got to be focused on the same issues, right people, right job, who are on the governor's agenda. And frankly, I think 1/3 of them need to come from the private sector. Think about it. I think it's hard to reinvent yourself as a civil service if you don't have some outside-in perspective. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the governor has to work with the legislature, but the legislature has to work with the governor, because in California we have line item veto, something the President of the United States would love to have and probably never will. And so this veto pen is very powerful, and you have to be consistent about it. And then I think we ought to think about how we can change the incentive structure, if you will, for the legislators. Today, what's happened in California is the legislature has largely become a bill factory. Last year, they introduced 2,000 bills and passed over 900 bills. I can tell you virtually none of them are on point to the crisis we face in California. So instead of creating new stuff, how about we focus on fixing what we have? And so I want to veto almost every piece of new legislation and get the legislature focused on jobs, spending, and education. And can we build coalitions around Republicans and Democrats who wants to be on the education team? Who wants to be on the spending team? Who wants to be on the government, on getting this a better place for small businesses to be? And what legislators care about, of course, is being reelected. So how about we make people, I'm happy to make Democrats famous if they are part of an education team that brings better schools to Fresno. So that's what I want to do, is focus on a small number of things. And by the way, as I have traveled the state, 80% of people can get rallied around jobs and spending and education. We may have a disagreement about how to do that, but there is almost universal agreement that this is the right direction to pursue given where we are as a state.